Hi, thanks for tuning in. This is the ASX and Sectors weekly chart analysis for the week ending 22nd of August 2025. The first chart is the S&P ASX 200 index. It closed very slightly higher this week after coming back and consolidating for a period in the week. Fairly deep consolidation we've seen there. Volume increased and was slightly above the average overall. So as the market came back, there was some supply drawn out. That supply was absorbed or bought, and the market then pushed a little higher in response and consolidated a little bit off its highs later in the week. This was a pretty good move. You'd have to be pretty happy with it overall. Put some lines in to see where we've been. You can see that the market continues to move higher, and it's looking relatively strong overall. Next chart is the mid-cap sector. The mid-cap sector is comprised of the bottom 50 stocks in the ASX 100 index. This doesn't include all the really large cap stocks which are in the parent index. This market did close higher this week. The period of consolidation was quite shallow in comparison to the parent index, and volume was reduced back to the average. This market's been leading the parent index more recently, and it continues to do so. The spread narrowed considerably this week on volume that was still quite good. I expect that was more due to the market dynamics around the larger cap stocks this week rather than any serious weakness emerging. The small ordinaries sector. The small ordinaries are comprised of the bottom 200 stocks in the ASX 300 index. Price closed just fractionally higher this week. It was really a consolidation for the week. Quite a deep consolidation. Volume increased to the average. It was genuine trading. You can see this market's been moving quite steadily for some time, along with the broader market. You might have almost said that it stalled out a little bit this week. Supply was being drawn out and the market came back for most of the week to absorb that supply and defend. And the positive close suggests that it was successful in doing so, at least for this week. This is the ASX financial sector, easily the largest sector in the Australian Stock Exchange. You can see the market actually broke out to new highs this week on an increase in volume, quite strong volume. Generally, when a market accelerates like this, once the momentum is done, usually within a few bars, and it's been consolidating here and then pushing higher like this, generally there'll be a period of consolidation in response. The higher up in the range it is, the stronger the market sentiment is generally. So once this momentum higher begins to wane a little, look for the period of consolidation in response, and in particular, look for the depth and duration of that period of consolidation, because it will strongly show you the market sentiment, the underlying market sentiment. This week's move was good. It pushed higher above the important level here with an increased spread. Volume was bordering on excessive, but we'll go with it for the minute. I think it was good, and this market is likely to attempt to continue higher. The ASX metals and mining subsector. I like to use this sector for the miners in general rather than the materials sector, which includes all sorts of other stuff that I don't think represents the miners in particular. Price pushed out, drew out supply here, came back, tested the breakout line for strength, pushed out once again. So I did find the strength at the breakout line, and this week was a period of consolidation. The market's trading right up at the highs of the range, and a successful push higher from here will really be a clear breakout. You'll note that volume reduced considerably this week as price came back. That suggests that selling pressure has reduced and the market is probably going to make an attempt to push higher when trading conditions are favourable. The ASX gold sector, it traded in consolidation mode this week, below the previous bar's close. Volume increased to about the average. We've been looking at these threatening down bars here. The market did look like it might come down to this level, but it failed to do so, which in itself is a minor sign of strength. It pushed higher 3 weeks ago and took out all of this trading, closed back above it, and the market's been absorbing its way higher over the last 2 weeks. This week was more a period of consolidation, but this market's now looking more positive than negative, there's no doubt. The ASX energy sector, we noted back here when the buying support emerged. We've seen price really move along for some time now. It's stalled out at this level. This really is an important level. A break above this level takes out all of this. It removes it from affecting the trading at all. This is a really important level. You can see that by the fact the market's spending quite some time attempting to remove supply. This is absorption taking place right at the highs of the range. You can see where supply was drawn out on this bar on the initial push higher, period of consolidation in response, a move back up to the important level, and now there's a period of consolidation and absorption happening here. If that's successful and the market allows, I would expect a strong push higher, and this will be an important push higher from this point. It leaves all of this old congestion behind. There's no stale supply. It'll only be what's up here, and that's a long time ago and will likely have been reduced considerably. This is the ASX healthcare sector. It was affected pretty strongly this week by earnings announcement for one particular stock, CSL. Whenever you see an exaggerated spread like that, especially on what is below average volume, it's almost certainly going to be an announcement, and on an index like this, it'll be an announcement for a single stock. You can see that this market has not really landed at a logical level. This is holders dumping their positions and getting out of that market, and they're getting out of it regardless of the price level. So you'll have to wait for this market to settle a bit first before we see where it ends up. Probably up here, I would expect. This is an important level through here. So somewhere between the 40,000 and 42,000 in this sector is probably the logical level. I don't think it's going to come back down to this level. I think it's going to be where this market spent its time in accumulation mode, which is through here. I'll do it in blue so you can see it more clearly. In here. I think that's where it'll probably settle. This is probably an overshoot to the downside, but we'll see. This is the ASX industrial sector. We noted a while back the supply that was drawn out. We've been following this market for some time. It's been a great chart to follow. But up here, supply was drawn out. You can see that in the volume here. Narrow spread up bar on increased and above average volume. And the market came back in response, spent some time in consolidation mode, moved back up to the important level. Then it's had a period of time, a month, consolidating at that level, right at the highs of the range. And this week, the market's attempted to break out again. And it looks like it's a pretty strong attempt on an increase at above average volume, bordering on excessive, but I think that's okay at the moment. We'll watch how it responds. Once this momentum begins to ease, look for a period of consolidation in response. The depth and duration of that consolidation is important, and it'll give you some good clues as to the underlying market sentiment. This is the consumer staples sector. It attempted to push higher this week, but it's drawn out supply. Once again, it didn't quite reach the highs of the previous range. Close, but was close here too. That was a minor sign of weakness. It didn't reach it quite here either, and it closed well off the highs. This market will almost certainly come back next week, probably within the range of this bar, and go through a period of consolidation, an attempt to hold on at this level. Something like this, at least through here. A break below that bar's low would probably be a minor negative to the market, and more serious if it continues, if there's ongoing downside follow through. But at the moment, you've had some supply drawn out as the market attempted to push higher, and it'll almost certainly come back and consolidate in response. This is the ASX consumer discretionary sector. You can see price pushed up. There was an important period through here where the market absorbed supply adjacent to this congestion to the left before the market really began to stretch high through here. This whole period here is almost like a period of bullish absorption. You could treat it like that for sure if you choose to. The market pushed out of that, 1 week consolidation, and it's accelerated higher again. It's a good, strong move, supported by increase and above average volume, but not excessively so. So that's a good, strong move, and it's likely to continue to be supported. Once this momentum eases, watch for the period of consolidation in response and the depth and duration in particular of that period of consolidation. The higher in the range, the stronger the market. And you could almost make a case that the range is from here to here. So a period of consolidation right up there in that range, sort of like a bull flag. If you're talking classic technical analysis, then that's much stronger than if the market has to come right back to consolidate before it can move higher again. So the depth and duration of the period of consolidation is really important. The ASX property sector, and it's been moving higher for some time. But this week, it's drawn out supply as it's pushed up to new highs. It's closed well off its high for the week, closed quite poorly on increased and slightly above average volume. So there was supply drawn out. This market will almost certainly come back in response to some degree and consolidate. It'll come back more deeply if supply continues to be drawn out, and relatively shallow if supply eases as soon as the market pulls back. But you would expect this market will come back to some degree and trade in consolidation mode, attempting to absorb the supply being drawn out at least early next week, and just testing the market for supply below the previous bar's close. Just back to the parent index quickly before we wrap up. You can clearly see how the market has been trading. The last 2 weeks are almost a period of absorption higher. The market's trading at all-time highs at the moment. Volume was increased and slightly above average, but not excessively so. There was a period of consolidation this week before the market just popped up to close higher for the week, slightly higher. There's no obvious sign of serious supply being drawn out. The close off the week's high just slightly does represent some supply being drawn out, but the volume doesn't suggest that it's excessive. So I wouldn't expect any serious pullback in response, or if there is, only a shallow one. And I would expect this market to attempt to continue higher. Okay, thanks for your time. See you next week. See ya.